I said, of course, there was going to be another Criterion Collection Blu-ray unboxing, and yep, I am now in the 70s. So, I am, of course, starting with the 70s Oscar-nominated movies, but as well, and then, of course, a little bit later, the potential ones that could have been in, but right now I'm just doing the Oscar-nominated ones. And kind of like a few Blu-ray unboxings, I think it was not the last one I just did, but I think the second to last regular Blu-ray unboxing I had gotten my first dose about a month ago, and now yesterday on the 27th of May, I had gotten my second dose, and now this time my left arm. I did it on my left arm this time, so once again it's going to be a bit difficult to unbox this, but I kind of already did already a little bit of stuff to open these easier off camera, but so yeah, I've not considered fully vaccinated because even though, of course, with the new rules, with the CDC says that fully vaccinated people don't have to wear a mask, but I think it still says that even after you get your second dose, you still have to wear a mask for 2 weeks. So basically, in the second week of June, I would say like after the 10th, I would say, but basically I'm not usually out on the weekends a lot, but so yeah, so probably like I can be fully vaccinated by like in about 2 Thursdays from now. So with that being said, let's get this started. I have 4 Oscar nominated movies from the 70s. I wasn't really sure how I was going to go into the 70s, because of course I've been like a little in the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, but now getting into the 80s be something interesting. And starting this up is Spy Number 864 from 1979 by Hal Ashby, Being There. Now, this movie is based on the 1970 novel of the same name, and it's basically about this middle-aged man who, of course, lived in was actually like a gardener for a wealthy man who unfortunately had passed away. And now, because of now with the gardener's knowledge of what's been going on, and like, but when his it's when his original owner died, he unfortunately had to be moved out of the house, and that's when he came across this woman and a popular friend who was like a senator or something like that. I'm actually looking. Like a popular, an advisor. Yeah, an advisor to the president of the United States, which is played by Melvin Douglas, who of course is in his final year stages because he is unfortunately have been dying. And this man, who is a gardener, ends up actually changing something that a lot of people did not realize, because he was a standard gardener, but then just changed it to an odd politician, because they think because his name is Chance the Gardener, but a lot of people think it's Chance E. Gardner. Now, this was an Oscar-nominated movie. It was nominated for 2 Oscars for actor for Peter Sellers, which unfortunately this was one of his last film roles, because he unfortunately passed away a few months after the last ceremony, and it won for Best Supporting Actor for Melvin Douglas. It was also nominated for like picture actress for Shirley MacLaine, which I would think she's more supporting in the film, and screenplay at the BAFTAs. It was nominated the Palme d'Or. It went big in the motion picture, comedy, and musical categories, where Sellers did one for actor, musical, or comedy. But yeah, it wasn't a Best Picture nominated movie. The Oscars had just only got the 2 performances. But I really had a great time watching this. Now, one thing that a lot of people, when they watch the movie, I don't know what it is. Like, okay, so it never really said in the movie, if you have seen Being There, it never really said it, but I believe Chance the Gardener, which is the character that Sellers plays, apparently I think the character is autistic. I might be wrong on that, but it feels like it. As a person with Asperger's, I do feel like he does have autism, but I haven't looked in the supplements yet. But I don't know because they never really revealed it. And one element that he uses to connect with life is actually through television. And of course, now a lot of the television was definitely something, of course, that probably really went big for the autism. And of course, what he does is, of course, just obviously just change every channels a lot throughout the movie. But like television is like what helps him throughout his life. And this was a very heart touching movie. It was in the National Film Registry in 2015. Excuse me, 15. And man, this was a really phenomenal movie. Like, I can't really say much of like any like best picture or like screenplay or something like that, the Oscars, but I really had a good time with this film. Next up is Spy Number 769. Yeah, from 1973 by Francesco Turfot. Day for Night. This is, of course, a movie that is kind of like actually making a movie called like the original French title was Le Nuit Americaine, or American Night, but it is called Day for Night. It's basically this. It's actually like a production of a movie, and it stars the director himself and a bunch of other. As well as, well, he's not really the main star, but he's actually in the movie along with the actors that are playing. Well, they are actors, but they're playing fictional actors, and specifically, like, yeah, the director is even a cast member of the film. They all have different names. The most notable name is Jacqueline Bisset. Probably the most notable one, and I only know her specifically because she won a Golden Globe for the miniseries, supporting role in a miniseries for Dancing on the Edge. I believe it was in 2013. So yeah, and this movie, like, it did win at the Cannes Film Festival, and one thing, of course, many people know is how it ended up in the when it, of course, was originally released. So it was originally released in 1973 in France, but it wouldn't have been eligible. So it was, of course, in the 1974 awards, and it was oh man, it did win Best Film and Director. And okay, that's interesting. I'm just looking at some of the awards it got. Got nominated for 2 Golden Globes, which supporting actress for Valentina Cortez. But here's something about the Academy Awards that they used to do. Now, when it was originally released, it of course did win for Best Foreign Language Film, now called Best International Feature. But since it had an American release in 1974, they think it was eligible enough for the other awards for its American release, and it ended up getting that for the 1975 ceremony, as it was nominated for Original Screenplay, Supporting Actress for Valentina Cortez, and Best Director for Franco Torvat. And that was, yeah, so they did nominate the same film again for 2 years in a row. But this actually did not happen before. This actually happened with a couple of other films, including Federico Fellini's Amarcord, which I did watch, and that one was okay. I'm not planning on getting that one individually. I know that's also part of the Fellini box set, but yeah, that movie was just okay. And that's one thing a lot of people call a stupid decision that they have decided to do, nominating the same film again 2 years in a row. And they're like, with that rule they had back then, there were like many snubs. If they didn't have that rule, for an example, with Amarcord, it won foreign language film, and then because of its American release, it got nominated the following year. I know for screenplay and director for Federico Fellini. But the thing about it is, if they didn't have that rule, for an example, with Amarcord, if they did not have that rule, and if Amarcord was eligible the same in all the other categories like foreign language film, like it is now, like with Roma and Parasite and Amour, for an example. If they, of course, did get nominated for foreign language film and, of course, all the other categories, then, of course, you know what it means. If they did that back then, Amarcord would have been nominated the same year when it won for foreign language film with the nominations for original screenplay and director. And if that did happen, then Steven Spielberg would have been nominated for Best Director for Jaws. Because if you remember, his reaction to the Oscar nominations when he missed Best Director for Jaws, he said, I got beaten out by Fellini. And because remember, Amarcord got nominated again the following year. If they didn't have that rule, Spielberg would have been nominated for Best Director for Jaws. I just want to point that out. And that's why Day for Night kind of falls in that category of what missed in the Best Director lineup. Because, of course, as I mentioned about that, because it was also nominated with, 75. Yeah, okay, so nothing really much, because, of course, that was the year when Francis Ford Coppola won for The Godfather Part 2. And that's very interesting. The same year when Amarcord won foreign language film, when Day for Night got in for director. So that's very interesting how that happened. So nothing much with The Godfather Part 2, but, of course, not so well for Jaws the following year. So I actually really did enjoy the filmmaking process they did throughout the movie. There were some interesting aspects with the relationship between the actors. And yeah, it's a very unique adventure, I must say. So next up, we do have a documentary here, and that is Spy Number... Oh boy, I can't really see this. 100 and... Is it 36 or 56? 56, I would say. And this is from 1974 by Peter Davis, Hearts and Minds. This is, of course, the Vietnam War documentary that looks into the perspectives of the American soldiers that fought during the Vietnam War, but also the Vietnamese citizens who unfortunately had a lot of their villages were destroyed. Some of them had lost their lives. And really it is kind of sad for both perspectives, because how the risk, of course, the American army had to took in order to face against the communist government, because, like fascism, communism is a bad political position. Vietnam, I believe, Vietnam is still a communist country as of today, which it is kind of sad, but this was the way in the Cold War to try to end the battle of communism. And, of course, seeing the Vietnamese people losing a lot of their buildings is also really, really sad. It's just their government is just it's just bad. That's the problem. Now, when it comes to this movie in particular with Hearts and Minds, this is actually Ituma Matabian. This is a Blu-ray DVD combo set, and I'm surprised it's all three of them are in this setting. I rather think the Blu-ray should be I could just switch this up. The Blu-ray can go here, and then this, and then the DVDs can go over here to make things easier. Because the Blu-ray was just here, disc 2 was up here, disc 2 was over here, disc 1 was over there. I just fixed that up. A very heartbreaking documentary for those in the Vietnamese citizens, but you can understand the minds of the American soldiers who had to fight against this communist country of their government. But yeah, and this movie did actually won for Best Documentary Feature of that year, so it is an Oscar-winning movie, like Day for Night was. So a very heart-wrenching documentary. A little bit, of course, not much about the Cold War, but you do have a lot of Cold War elements with clips of a lot of the American presidents, and it really is kind of a very sad film to watch in the perspective of the Vietnamese citizens. Now, this movie is fully in English. There is, of course, some multiple different languages, but I know at the beginning there's this... there is a little bit of subtitles, but the rest of it is all through translation. Narration translation when it comes to the interviews of the Vietnamese people, and it really is sad to see all those Vietnamese people in this movie, in this documentary, losing people they loved in this real event. So very heart-wrenching film, and definitely a documentary that you need to see on um, how how the hearts of the citizens of Vietnam um, just it's rather sad. And finally, I know this one is a little bit of a light in the mood, but last up is Spy number 724, and yes, it was 56 for the last one. And this is from 1979 by Bob Fosse. All that jazz. I could make that reference in Chicago. So yeah. So of course, All That Jazz, of course, is movies that stars Roy Schneider as this well-renowned choreographer, who of course is behind a big musical, and unfortunately he is suffering through a massive surgery after like massive heavy smoking, I believe what it is, if I remember throughout most of the movie. And throughout the film he's just of course trying to build up this massive like show that he's planning, but because of some massive health conditions, he unfortunately had to be in the hospital, and he's trying to avoid dying. And then throughout this movie, especially in the second half, it goes. Now, throughout most of the beginning, it's not much of a musical, but when we get to the second half, once he's in bed and it's almost like a battle if he wants to survive or not, that's when the musical aspect comes, because this is a musical drama by all means. And this movie, of course, did win the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival the following year. Yeah, yeah. So it was probably released internationally in 1980 for some countries. So I think, yeah, because it was only nominated, but it kind of did like decently in some of the places. But at the Oscars, this is where it went big. It won for original score, adaptation, song score, because the score categories were kind of split a little bit during the golden age of the musical genre. Film editing, costume design, and art direction, now called production design. And it was nominated for cinematography, original screenplay for Robert Allen Arthur, the producer, and Bob Fosse, best actor for Roy Scheider, best director for Bob Fosse, and best picture for Robert Allen Arthur. And for the best picture and director loss, that went to Kramer versus Kramer. I know for picture, director, and actor, which of course went to Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, so pretty definitely a great addition to the collection. And I think that is actually it for the Criterion Blu-ray unboxings for technically I would say the month of June, because as of this recording, I am doing my Oscar movie marathon. I have kind of started that this week, and so in the developments, you will soon get. I haven't started writing yet, but you will get the international animated and documentary reviews pretty soon. I'm already at 5 right now. So with that, yeah, it's 5. Because I usually watch one movie a day. So with that being said, that will be coming soon, but the next video will not be any of those reviews. The next video that you'll be seeing, which I can't wait, I don't know say anything yet, but if it works, expect next weekend for a video that something around a content that I have not done in a long time. Well, if I get the opportunity to. So with that being said, make sure you look out for that special video that I can't wait to do. I can't really say much special, but it's an exciting video that I can't wait to do. And soon this arm will be a little bit more relaxed like this one, like it was for last a few, like, you know what I mean, like when this arm was sore, once this is not sore for the second dose. And that will only be a week after I got it, so I would still be, of course, wearing a mask, but hopefully I can do it. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, comment down below if you've seen any of the 4 films, and all that jazz.